Hello, bro. You know WWE is a shell of itself, right? But I'm gonna come and tell you from a lot of different directions here, 'cause they're always after me Lucky Charms.
It's like when I say, "Hey, Booker, man, where do you get your creative?" And he's like, "I don't have any. I'm coming for you, Triple H. You are a fraud. You are a fraud." It's very typical of the WWE to take your money and put the foot where the sun don't shine. You know what I mean? It's very garbage.
Orale, man. Yeah, man, this stuff is garbage, eh? It's not even funny. Me and my essays don't even watch it like we used to when we were little vatos. You know what I'm saying, chico? Orale, puto, man. Triple H is a gavron, man. Nothing but a gavron. I spit in his mouth and he's creative. He's trying to be like Dusty, but Dusty was overrated too, eh?
WWE isn't what it once was, and I'm going to speak from my perspective. Now, I started watching wrestling around 1996, and comparing the product from, let's say, 96 to right now, 2026, it's absolutely totally different in so many vast ways, and every single facet of it has been changed to the point I don't even recognize what WWE is anymore or what it's trying to be. I used to watch, let's say, for example, Monday Night Raw, and I couldn't wait till next week, man. It was crazy, bro. I used to, let's say, for example, Monday Night Raw, when it came to the late 90s, early 2000s, it would be on Mondays, of course. And at the time, same time period, Dragon Ball Z was on television, same start time and everything. And you know how kids are young, you know, you'd want to watch one or the other, but it was like, oh, you know, this is going on in Dragon Ball Z. Goku's building up the spirit bomb for 5 weeks, and you're like, oh, I still want to watch that. It's enticing, but I want to watch wrestling too. But nonetheless, man, I tuned into WWE Raw over that. And that was a big thing back then in that era. And if you're from that generation, you know exactly how long that spirit bomb took to build. But nonetheless, that's what I'm referring to. They hooked you weekly, and they had always an awesome, cliffhanger at the end of the show where you're like, I can't wait to see what happens next week and how this resolves or how this develops. Now that's non-existent. They end on no cliffhangers of any sort, and it's basically as if, oh, you don't even have to watch next week, because you don't. It always repeats itself, and it's very repetitive. Week in, week out, man, it's the same old dribble, same old storylines, same old wrestlers in the spot they've been in, or they change it up a bit, basically try to refresh it in a very cheap way. Where, for example, recently, Cody Rhodes was the WWE champ. Give it to Drew McIntyre. Give it back to Cody Rhodes. And that whole, you know, it's like we want to see Drew McIntyre as the champion. We don't want to see Cody Rhodes anymore. It's not working. The only people that watch him and appreciate him at this point or like what he's doing are the WWE stans. There's so much possibility if they kept the title on Drew McIntyre, but they don't. It's basically, I've learned over the last decade or so of WWE, watching WWE, that if the fans genuinely like a certain wrestler or character, they will not let that character or wrestler specifically get over naturally. They won't push him or her, and then they basically take that wrestler and squash anything and everything that the fans liked about them to basically rub it in the fans' face. It's like, bro, you're not doing the fans any service nor your product. Years and years ago, how wrestling worked was basically if you got a reaction from the fans, if the people loved you, be it in a heel or face way, they would push you. And that's what it was all based about. But now if WWE does not like you, if you don't get along to go along or go along to get along, they will not push you, even if they can make mad money off you. Which, speaking from a, entertainment perspective, why would you do that? And not only that, but from a financial perspective, it's like LA Knight. LA Knight is literally fan adored. The fans literally adore him, but they won't push him. Yeah, okay, he was on WrestleMania 42, but for somebody of his caliber, his, the things he can do in the ring, how he garners attention, they literally bury him. And of course, the WWE stans will say, well, he was on WrestleMania 42. They're not burying him. It's like, bro, for somebody who's capable of so much like LA Knight, the fans actually love and appreciate. They're behind him. The match he was in at WrestleMania 42, night one, was actually a joke. Is basically we're not even putting you as a focus or anything about you. It's because of I show speed and so on. And he's the main attraction, main focus and development in that match and storyline, which is a joke. Then as well, from a female perspective, Chelsea Green, who is adored, cherished, she literally has so many facets to her emotions and the way she portrays her character. Her in-ring abilities are great as well. And like I said, the fans love her, cherish her, all sides of the spectrum, every single facet and demographic of the wrestling fan, WWE fan, but they don't want to push her. They say, oh, her role is to put over Charlotte. Her role is to put over this person and that person. Basically, they've already given her a top level and she can't go beyond that. And that's what she is, a joke to WWE. And basically, oh, you're never going to be this or that because we say so. But the fans see what she's capable of, and what she already did is greater than a lot of other female wrestlers have done over 5-10 years in WWE. It's more memorable, more prominent, and more fan appealing. And another big problem with WWE is they push a wrestler, they give them titles, they put them in feuds, this and that, but then all of a sudden, they drop the ball with them completely, that you forget they're even on the roster. Prime example is Apollo Crews. He debuted, they tweaked his character here and there. He went from having an accent to not. Okay, sure, that happens. But he was a champion, and he was featured prominently on the shows, weekly, SmackDown, this and that. Then all of a sudden, you forgot he was even on the roster. Then time goes on and you're like, wait, this guy's still on the roster? And boom, he got the boot like he did recently a couple days ago. And it's like, why would we entertain or, get behind the wrestler if only after a certain period of time, you're going to go cold on them and then basically give them the boot? What is there to grow with? What is there to cheer? What is there to boo? When basically going off your general perspective and approach to every wrestler on average, you basically push them. They cool off, you give them the boot within a year, a couple of years. And then it's like these people are namestays anymore. Basically, they're a fart in the wind. They literally do not want to create icons anymore or legends. These wrestlers in WWE now have like a shelf life of 8 years, unless it's from a previous decade or era, like the Ruthless Aggression era or something along those lines. But basically, for example, I wouldn't be surprised if Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, Oba Femi, who else? Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, these type of people who just got either a call up to the main roster or, getting some sort of a push on the main roster. Within 5 years, they're basically going to get booted from the WWE. So it's like, why should I spend my time and effort cheering these people, watching this product where I know these people won't be lifers in a certain aspect? Like, okay, as memorable as, let's say, The Undertaker was, where he's been there for 20 years, where you associate with that character, you feel with that character, you yourself grow with that character as that character is growing on TV. They basically have these wrestlers on there to make a buck. You buy their merch, and basically when they don't make as much as they did initially, here's the boot, big boy. So it shows that WWE has become more corporate than it's ever been. And of course, WWE was corporate before TKO bought it, but the way and the levels they've went to for corporate greed since WWE got purchased by TKO is unbelievable. And the only ones that support these people are like the WWE stans. I'm a fan. I'm a wrestling fan first and foremost, not a WWE fan. A lot of WWE stans are WWE fans or Stan fans. Basically, they don't watch anything outside of the WWE. They can't entertain the idea of even watching AEW or TNA or MLW, GWC, JCW or anything. Not even the vintage stuff, 90s, WCW, ECW, nothing. They will never, basically to them, it doesn't exist. It's WWE or bust. And it saddens me to see, because I truly, yearn for those moments that as a young kid or a teenager, when I watched WWE, it was like I used to go to school and talk to my friends, and I'd made friends through that. Oh, did you see what Stone Cold did last night? Oh my goodness, did you see what Undertaker did last night? Did you see what Batista did? Did you see how Batista turned on Triple H? Oh my God, what's going on with Randy Orton and Triple H? And so on and so on. There's no storylines. There's no true storylines. Yeah, you can say they have some sort of storyline, but it's not the storylines I grew up with. Basically, it's not entertaining, it's not riveting, it's not compelling. It's basically, if you've seen it at Backlash 2024, you've seen it at Backlash 2025 in some sense or capacity. It's just regurgitated garbage. I remember back in the day, you'd watch, let's say, WWE Raw, and you'd be wondering what the heck's going on. They'd start the show with something happening at the beginning of the show where basically glues you in, and you have to watch the whole 2 hours to see and figure out what happens at the end of the show. And sometimes they don't even give you the full end of that segment that was initially started at the beginning of the story. They make you come back next week's Monday, to get some more development to it or an end to it. And then you keep building and you keep doing that, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I want to order the pay-per-view. And that's what kept fans glued and enticed. There was storyline development constantly with layers and layers to it. There was character development for the wrestlers, where a wrestler was a certain way, but they got a different layer to them, a different perception to them from the fans. When a wrestler won let's say the WWE title, it actually meant something. The last time I'll give them the last time a wrestler winning the WWE World Championship or the World Championship meant something, I'll give him that, was when Cody won it. But other than that, it's been a fart in the wind. It's either a hand-me-down, basically here, we'll give you this to keep you happy, or a complimentary, you've been here for 20 years, 10 years, we'll give you a match or a title win. And it has no, appeal. It doesn't mean anything. But in turn, for example, and I know this is way, way back, but it's like when Mankind won his first World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE Championship on Raw that one night, Monday night, people were turning over from WCW, regulars who watched WCW, to see that moment because it was a big moment, historically speaking, in the wrestling landscape. But nowadays, it's just basically, it's either you get it as a complimentary win or a complimentary main event. Like, for example, when Finn Balor got his main event title chance with CM Punk at Elimination Chamber, it's like it's a complimentary title match. Basically, oh, you've been here for so long, we appreciate your merch sales, stay with us, and here you go, you get to be main event. And every true fan, wrestling fan, knew he wasn't going to win. There was no chance in hell they would do anything like that or swerve us in the sense of, oh my goodness, we couldn't believe this happened. And sure, okay, you don't need him in the title match at WrestleMania, well, take it off him on the second week after that pay-per-view, or the first week right after, the following Monday. But they won't do stuff like that anymore. It's like Kane, he won the title, was champion for a day or two, took it off him on the following Raw, back in the Attitude Era. They don't do stuff like that to, like, okay, there's a possibility it could happen. Nowadays, it's either for sure it's going to happen because you can see it from 1,000 miles away, or basically it's like they're insulting your intelligence, and basically it's like, come on, guys, it's for the stands. It's basically to appease the stands and that said wrestler. And then going back to, how they call pay-per-views PLEs now, which is, marketing ploy, change it, modernize it, make it seem more crazy. We don't want to give the fans the impression they're paying for it and this and that. And of course, there's more to it, but it's basically all marketing to take money from the fans, but make it seem like it's not. Pay-per-view, you're paying per the view. Now it's premium live event. Oh, I'm part of something premium. And even then, for not just under TKO, but 5-10 years recently, with all these, B shows, even SummerSlams and other main 4 pay-per-views, WWE has not done creative stuff with their stages. They're basically, all they do is change the font on the Titantron. It's the same Titantron over and over again. And for example, for me, the biggest effect when I was growing up, I used to play WWF No Mercy on the N64, right? I loved, picking out the arenas and so on, because I'd go up to the arena and play in front of it, and then I'd feel like I'm a part of that show. And of course, every arena was different back then and unique. And imagine now when you play WWE, let's say 2K26, the arenas they're all the same if they're modern arenas, unless it's WrestleMania. But even then, watching a show, you don't feel like, okay, they're putting in an effort. It's basically like, okay, we're going to do the least amount of effort possible creatively, and we're going to take 10,000 times the amount of money we did, let's say, 15, 20 years ago. You have also the over the top corporate shilling. And I understand WWE is a business at the end of the day, but when you're literally taking the whole, let's say, event, the Raw, the SmackDown, and making it a product placement, where you're basically, the whole ring is covered in logos that have nothing to do with the WWE, Ram, Iridia, this game, this brand, that brand. Then you have the tables. Oh, Slim Jim's table, Slim Jim ladder, Slim Jim commentary table. Soon, I'm telling you, soon we will have it where they will have wrestlers sponsored by a certain brand. So you'll have Roman Reigns sponsored by TKO Endeavor, or Cody Rhodes sponsored by Disney Express. The attire will be literally covered in decals from brands, logos from brands. They're already talking about it. There's some sort of brand with, what's his name, Dominic Mysterio, where his attire will have a patch or something along those lines with that brand on it, man something. I'm not too sure. It's some kind of wipes, man wipes, dude wipes, which is literally the start to something even more grotesque than we already have. And I can't even fathom how more grotesque it's going to get. We've already come to the point where we have matches sponsored by, let's say, a corporation or a product. How many times have we seen that where it's like, for example, I think it was the match between LA Knight and Bray Wyatt where it was sponsored by Mountain Dew Pitch Black. And it's like, damn, man, you're literally taking the piss out of it. Or that tag team match we had at the recent WrestleMania Clash of the Clans or whatever, that phone game. It's like, bro, man, I don't need to be shilled to. I'm not a robot where I'm going to just go out and buy all this stuff because A, B, and C wrestlers wearing it or using it or mentioning it. To me, on me personally, that stuff never works, and it turns me away and sours me on that product, even if it's genuinely good. But then again, stands are stands, and they'll run with it.
Dominic Mysterio likes this. I'm gonna go buy a pallet.
Wrestlers nowadays don't have charisma. You're not allowed to have charisma. Basically, you get shunned by the creative team and the higher-ups. I've heard Carl Anderson, and Doc Gallows, basically when they weren't getting a push or, whatever they were doing creatively wasn't working, and they were trying to give Triple H some ideas and asking him, oh, can we reinvent ourselves? He basically turned everything down. And it's like, I don't want to work with you. If it's not from my mouth, if it's not my idea, Triple H won't like that. He's going to say, no, I'm the boss. Triple H, King of Kings. It's all about the game and how you play it. And that goes back to creative, right? Triple H was a wrestler, and he still has that wrestler mindset where he's protecting his spot, even though he's not on the active roster, but he sees it from this perspective, like I mentioned in one of my other videos. In his perspective, if he pushes these talents, these modern-day talents, he doesn't want to make them bigger stars than he was. Basically, let's say hypothetically, if Triple H was on somebody's top 10 wrestler list of all time, all of a sudden, Obafemi, Roman Reigns, Trick Williams, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, have more memorable moments, looked upon highly by the community, wrestling fans, and so on. All of a sudden now, they come into that top 10. Triple H goes from top 10 wrestler in people's eyes to all of a sudden top 50. Do you know what I'm trying to say? He's protecting his spot. He's a wrestler, a coach in, let's say, a sports coach. Just because you are the greatest, let's say a hockey player like Wayne Gretzky, you are the greatest hockey player of all time in the NHL. You've got record after record. You got the most stats points in all time. Great. You don't make a great coach. And was Wayne Gretzky a great coach? He was a horrible coach when he was coaching the Phoenix Coyotes. Same thing with Triple H, bro. He's a horrible creative head. And then the only time he was good was at the end or near the end when TKO was bought by WWE, when Vince McMahon was still kind of there. And we only recently heard that. And that's why that whole storyline where Cody won the title, the 2-night main event with Rock involved, worked. And that was the last time anything creatively worked for the WWE in the recent memory. It's because Vince McMahon was still involved. And we only recently learned about that, and people were giving praise to Triple H, glorifying him, pretty much putting him on a pedestal as if you're the king of kings. Your stands are here, Lord and Chief. Yeah, call him Triple Chafe. That suits him better than Triple H at the moment. It's repetitive and it's redundant. These stands gotta stop glorifying this dude. When it's TKO, something happens that's horrible, that's bad. Oh my god, it's TKO's fault. But when something good happens, somehow it's Triple H. How can you even discern that it's one or the other? It's like they act like, oh, at the end of the day, TKO has right and control over it. Yeah, they do. It's their corporation. WWE is a part of TKO. But why would you pay Triple H millions and millions a year to be the head of creative and talent and so on, and be like, oh, you're not going to do your job, we'll do it for you? Come on, think logically, a little bit critically, and you'll realize you're being a fool. You're taking a ride on the wild side. And of course, there's a lack of main eventers, main event talent in specific, because they try to put anybody and anything in there. For example, Jey Uso recently. Bro is nothing but a glorified mid-carder, if that. When you have to attach the word or catchphrase or title main event Jey Uso to him and his repertoire, you're basically trying to, put the wool over the people's eyes and say, hey, keep saying this because eventually it'll become true. And he was a fart in the wind. He was the champion once. And, all of a sudden back to where he belongs. He's a lackey for, Roman Reigns. But the stands at that time, if you tell them anything, they're like, no, you're wrong, buddy. You're wrong. And true wrestling fans seen it from the get-go. You are not going to put one over the true wrestling fans' eyes. And it's sad to say the least, that there's, this infighting within the wrestling community, WWE community specifically. Going next is the titles. The titles mean nothing. People back then, like I said earlier, if you won a world title or a championship, intercontinental, anything, and it was meaning that you're starting to get a push. And of course, they wanted to get you to the point where you didn't need a title. You were already established. The titles were meant to be basically a springboard to get you over with the fans. It was kind of a subconscious way of telling the fans, okay, this person is got something. We're going to push them, and so on. It's like, for example, Undertaker got to the point where he had multiple title wins and reigns and so on, but it got to a point where he was better off without it because he didn't need it. He was over with the fans because he had constant development of his character, constant great feuds and storylines, and so on. And basically the fans got behind them. Now the titles are basically, like I mentioned, here's a, honorary title win. Here's a complimentary title win. Here's a main event where you win something and then you lose it. It's basically, it's like, I like you this week. Here you go. You win, buddy. Oh, you did this for me backstage. Here you go. Wink, wink. You're doing a great job. And lo and behold, after a little bit, they're gone. It's like, what the hell did all that mean? Basically, it means nothing. The tag team division itself specifically, WWE has never been a fan of tag team division. They've had moments in history or certain eras where tag teams were more prevalent and more focused on. And it was like, for example, the Attitude Era, you had Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boys, and so on. And, you had great matches, iconic matches, TLC matches, and so on. But generally, even under Vince McMahon, the WWE has never been a fan of keeping a persistent, goal of, okay, we got to get this tag team over, this tag team feud over, or the division itself over. The last 5 or so years has been so ridiculous. It's not even funny. More than ever, they throw in 2 people together, or they're like, oh, well, they're in a stable. So the generic thing to do, or the stereotypical thing to do, is give 2 of those people within that stable what's called world title win or world tag team title win. And they do that, which basically means nothing. You'll see these wrestlers day in, day night on Raw or SmackDown, like one team and the other team wrestling every week for 4 or 5 weeks straight. Then all of a sudden on a PLE pay-per-view, they'll have a tag team title match. And it's like, why would I pay to go watch this? Why would I go out of my way to watch this? I've seen this for 4 or 5 plus weeks every week now for free. It's like, it just doesn't make any sense. And it's like they're fighting for a title that doesn't make sense, that this person had it, that person had it, this group had it. All these titles, basically, nobody adds to it. Now it's come to a point where the title doesn't add anything to that wrestler. It's basically just weighing that wrestler down, because that wrestler is like, oh my goodness, I accomplished A, B, and C and D at this point. If I get to E and F, that's close to me being booted out of the WWE. They're not going to have anything to do with me, because generally WWE runs out of ideas at that point. That's going back to that whole thing where they literally lack creative direction for wrestlers. If they have a template, they put you in, and if you get to the point of, let's say you're A, B, C, D, and if you get around the E, F part of that template, you're basically higher chance of you getting booted out of the WWE. They lack creative directions. They'll start off hot on something, but they'll drop the ball faster than anything. It's like Obafemi. Obafemi has a good physique. He has a good look to him. I'm not going to lie. And this is not me being negative or wishing ill upon the gentleman, but it's like, bro, he lacks charisma. And all these stands are saying, oh, he's the next big thing. WWE is going to push him. He literally he beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. You know who also beat John Cena at WrestleMania? Like a couple of years ago? Austin Theory. What is he doing now? He's a lackey. He's a jabron. Only after 5-10 years will you see if it's stuck or not, and we'll see, as time only tells. It's like Roman Reigns. They pushed him down our throats constantly, and they were behind him. They would not quit. He was pay-per-view. He was headlining WrestleMania for like 4, 5, 6 years in a row, where people were just not into him until they were like, okay, sure, he's good. We'll acknowledge him. But that's like 1 in a billion. They don't do that for anybody else. If they push you and the fans like you, there's a good chance they'll drop you even then. If they push you and the fans don't like you, they'll drop you quicker than anything. Of course, with WWE, even under Vince McMahon, this is when it started. When some feud deserved a Hell in a Cell match, it was big. It was like, oh my God, this is the end. Then that back in the day, that song would come on like Armageddon. The end is here! And that match was going to mean business, and it was going to be big time, and it meant something to that feud. But now when you have a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell, Elimination Chamber, you have Money in the Bank, where basically it doesn't matter what's going on, even War Games now, Survivor Series War Games. It doesn't matter what's going on. They're going to jam everything together and try to make it work to appease that gimmick match, where literally, back in the day, you could count the names and wrestlers who were in, let's say, Hell in a Cell, and you'd be like, that was a great match. Oh my God, that was good. Oh, that one was good. Oh, that one was different. It was 6 men in there, and it was still good. It was iconic in its own right. Now you're like, oh wait, every year we get at least one Hell in a Cell. And for the most part, they're all farts in the wind. Farts in the wind. All we are is farts in the wind. And only as time has gone on, you can't force things. You can't make things happen if it's not natural. And thus we get just a cluster of matches that don't stand out. And they're supposed to be like the end all be all. These type of matches back in the day, like the territory era, let's say a cage match or a War Games, basically when you put on that, you would attract more fans than ever, because it was like, okay, even fans who weren't keeping up with it knew something big was happening, because, oh my God, the cage match, that doesn't happen often. When was the last time you heard about it? But now you're expected, oh, the Hell in a Cell is coming around next month. Who's going to be in it? Even the Royal Rumble, for example, it's like, why don't they do a format where one year they have, let's say, the women's Royal Rumble only, and then switch it around, or let's say 2 years in a row, it's the women's Royal Rumble, or the men's, and then switch it, okay, now it's the men's and women's. But when you force 2 Royal Rumbles on the pay-per-view, and then on top of that, you have only 2 other matches, it's like, oh my God, it's a joke. It's like, man, you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, for the pay-per-view's name. And then going back to that whole idea as well, the pay-per-views back in the day used to have on average 8 matches on it, a standard pay-per-view. Now it's like 4 to 5 pay-per-view matches. So they expect you to pay double the price, if not way more, let alone in person. We're not even going to get into that right now, but they're going to cut the matches in half. You're watching, let's say, a 3 hour show where the wrestling matches add up to about an hour of the show. The entrances and ads about an hour and a half or whatever. Basically, you're getting less and less and paying more and more. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's redundant. It's just basically how much money can we make off these people, and they don't respect you as a fan. They don't respect the talent. So how can they respect you? It's just redundant. People are being put in places or spots on the card that shouldn't be there, and it's either they're doing it because of some backstage thing where they're like, oh, they're good for me backstage. They keep me employed. I'm Triple H. Or it's, oh, they're second, third generation. Just because you're second, third generation doesn't mean you deserve that spot. Or as people have been saying, if you're Samoan, you're good for the company no matter what. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. And people who should deserve that spot, who are different, who fans like, are not getting a look at all. Overlooked on top of that. Being a WWE fan or wrestling fan used to be awesome. You used to feel cool. You used to feel excited, entertained. It was awesome, everything about it. Wrestling used to have a place in pop culture. And, people who didn't know wrestling, who didn't watch wrestling, they know who Stone Cold is. They know about Goldberg. They know about The Undertaker. My dad hasn't watched wrestling in 30, 40 years. And he knows who The Undertaker is. You know what I mean? That's that's an icon. That's a pop culture icon. He knows Hulk Hogan. This is when he watched it as a kid here and there, but he still knows who Hulk Hogan is to date. Nobody knows who Cody Rhodes is. Nobody knows who Kevin Owens is. Nobody knows who Sami Zayn is. The only reason people know Brock Lesnar is because of his, longer career and, of course, his work outside the UFC and other things. But it's like, who in today's era can you say people know? It's like Roman Reigns, yeah, he's known a little bit, but not like these other ones. Nobody, compared to The Rock, he and those other wrestlers I mentioned, nobody knows him. My dad doesn't know who Roman Reigns is, People who know who the other ones are, like, oh, I know who John Cena is. They don't know, buddy, at least at this point. And let alone, that's the only one you can kind of say people might know. But every other wrestler, nobody knows unless you're a WWE fan. It's really sad to be a WWE fan. And generally, it's like, I'd say the reason I keep up with it and watch it still to this day, it's like I'm yearning for that moment or that experience I had in my youth as a kid. And it's like, those memories and so on, that feeling. But it's like 20 plus years afterwards, it's like 20 plus 30 years afterwards, it's like, how and when will I realize that feeling will never come back? WWE will never be what it once was. And no matter how patient I am, because at 30, 25 plus 6 years after the fact, since it stopped being fun, it's like, am I the one who's doing something wrong here? And the fans on average, en masse, are leaving and not watching. The last time I seen a Nielsen rating for Raw before they went to Netflix, it was like a 1.2, 1.4. And the highest in the like 98, 99, WWE Raw had like a 6.97 Nielsen rating. So look at that big change. The fans are leaving. They're not happy. The ones staying are fans like me, like I said, yearning for something that's not there, that's never going to be there, a feeling, an emotion, a nostalgia, if you want to say it. I don't even know. It's sad to be a wrestling fan. WWE is a shell of itself.